A lot of disappointment at the White House this morning, realizing they have to try to work with Netanyahu for the next 2 years, a man who has been such a thorn in their sides.
This also means that the relationship with the President Obama, is going to be even more poisonous.
I think it's a major pain in the neck for this White House. I think this White House and a lot of the world was expecting this election, if not to go the other way, at least to be a lot closer.
Here with reaction is the great one, nationally syndicated radio talk show's Mark Levin. So there you have the president with contempt and outright loathing of the prime minister and his liberal media clapping seal audience there regurgitating basically the president's lines. Here's what I have a problem with, Mark. Prime Minister Netanyahu had to battle not only liberals in his own country, but the Obama machine on the ground there. The president didn't pick up the phone today, but he did call the president of Iran when he won. He did call Putin when he won. He did call Mohammed Morsi, who referred to the Israelis as descendants of apes and pigs. He called him when he took charge in Egypt. He called the president of Turkey. He called leaders when they won in China and in Saudi Arabia. Why can't he pick up a phone and call our #1 ally and the only democracy in the region? Why?
He just said it. He doesn't like democracy. He doesn't like Congress. He's got a pen and a phone, and when Congress doesn't do what he says, he's off doing his best Benito Mussolini. He doesn't like Netanyahu. Netanyahu just won in a landslide. Obama's never won in a landslide. The American people rose up in November and told Obama how they are disgusted with his programs and his policies, and what did he do? He turned around and spat in our faces. And he does the same in 2010 when they lose the House of Representatives. Obama has more ability to work with dictators and genocidal types than he does with people who are elected democratically. The fact of the matter is, Sean, and I want to say this, and this is important, Eric Holder said that this nation is full of cowards because we won't have a discussion about race. Well, I think this nation needs to have a discussion about what's going on in this White House and this administration about anti-Semitism, because this White House, and it's reaching out to Sharpton, the Muslim Brotherhood, CARE, all these radical nut jobs and groups, their policies, which are not, it's not just Netanyahu. They're willing to throw Israel over the side for the Islamo regime in Tehran. This president's former relationships with Khalidi, the professor in Columbia now, with Wright, the so-called reverend from Chicago. This president has a lot to answer for, and his conduct is contemptible. I don't care how many liberal Democrat donors who are... Hold on now. I don't care how many liberal Democrat donors he has who are Jewish. He can hide behind them all he wants. But Mr. Holder, Mr. Obama, let's have a national discussion about the anti-Semitism that reeks from your administration.
You think the president's anti-Semitic, Mark?
I personally do. Yes, I do. Has he demonstrated otherwise? Israel is surrounded. Israel was under attack with Hamas. His State Department puts out these preposterous statements about moral relevancy. Israel's taking missiles. This president's holding back ammunition, slow walking it. Does this sound like a guy who has a rational reason for his belief system? I don't think so. That's my personal opinion.
I think a lot of this is rooted in this. I think in Netanyahu you have a real leader. I think the president, this is petty. This is, you know, his arrogance on display, his petulance on display. And here you got a guy in Netanyahu that has moral clarity, recognizes the evil in our time and will say it, radical Islamic terrorism. He doesn't retreat, he doesn't cower, he doesn't bend. And in defiance of the president, he told the world about the dangers of this bad agreement. And I think President Obama is small in comparison and probably deep down inside knows it, that he's just outclassed.
He is outclassed. This man had 2 years in the Senate. Before that, he had really no experience at anything other than rabble-rousing and sitting in the back of the state Senate in Illinois and cavorting with the most radical, people imaginable. The fact of the matter is he resorts to his ideology. He's very thin-skinned. And he's very stubborn. And on top of all the rest of it, I've said before, he's a nihilist and he's a narcissist. This isn't name-calling, this is analysis.
Let me ask you this,
So
then.
what do you do when you're a leader and you're up against an Obama?
What does it mean when the President of the United States, through his minions trying to do his bidding, go on the ground in Israel and try and unseat a sitting prime minister, a close ally of the United States? That, to me, is a huge story. That he tried to do this. What is your reaction to that?
You know, what's amazing to me is when throughout our history, when we've tried to topple regimes that threatened America, the left would rise up, they'd hold hearings in Congress, they'd put out studies talking about how horrible the CIA is and our national security structure, when we're trying to topple dictators and genocidal maniacs who threaten us. Here we have a president of the United States, through his State Department, through his campaign director and others, going to an ally in Israel, trying to knock off the ally and to install somebody who will acquiesce to his demands and surrender Israel's security. There need to be full-blown congressional hearings about that money flow out of the State Department into Israel, directly and indirectly. His fingerprints are on it, and they need to find them.
He's nicer to Mohammed Morsi, the former head of the Muslim Brotherhood, than he has been to Netanyahu. Mark, good to see you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And